This is Geek Gab with your host, me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Monday, July 13th, 2026. Today we are talking with Master of Monsters, Larry Correia, about his new book, American Paladin, on Arc Press. And you may have noticed in the title of the show, I had something secret that was also A and P that I did not reveal. That's because I did not know if Larry wanted me to have a spoiler for the plot of the show. But I assure you, listen, guys, for those of you who count, that is 7 asterisks after the P. Okay, it is not a 5-letter word, so I don't want any of you dirty-minded bastards complaining in my comments, okay? So, but believe me, it is pertinent to the plot of the book. And if Larry gives me the okay sign, I will tell you why. I was kind of proud of myself that I could stack up 4 AP combinations like that, because I haven't seen anybody else do that when talking about this book, and it seems kind of obvious to me in retrospect. But that is because I am a transcendental genius here to bring you the best in entertainment in America today. And the best in entertainment in America today on our 250th anniversary is American Paladin. Larry, how are you doing?
I am doing awesome. I was just telling you before the show started, I have been crazy busy. Stuff's hopping here in beautiful 110-degree Utah today. And that's been super busy. I've been working on a bunch of books. American Paladin came out a couple weeks ago. Magic and Bullets came out the month before that, and the third book in the Academy of Outcast series. I'm working on that. I was writing the finale today, and yeah, so it is hopping. I'm a busy dude.
I am trying to pay attention, but I have missed the name twice. The third book in what series?
Academy of Outcasts. It's a progression fantasy series from Athon. It's been doing really, really well.
Okay, this is going to sound terrible, but I have read part of the first book. I have not finished the first book, but that's because my life is so unbelievably busy that...
No worries. No worries. I'm not offended. I write way too many books.
You had a stack. I think it was you. Somebody asked how many books you had written since the last George R.R. Martin novel.
Yeah, it was 32 of them. And so I made a stack of books to demonstrate. And well, the thing is, it's that sounds like a lot, but it's really I only average about 2.5 books a year across my career. Which is really not that fast. I'm just consistent. So I'm working on book number 35 right now, I believe is what I'm at. And George is just that slow.
What I thought was hilarious was that the AI trying to give the answer couldn't even come up with an actual answer because it broke down trying to calculate the difference between novels, novellas, short stories. You literally gave an AI a nervous breakdown trying to count. That was a beautiful moment to me, because I just like seeing AIs take nervous breakdowns, but it was amazing. It was pure. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
It's kind of fun because every now and then I'll find out what some other famous author, like what they've written across their career. And I'll find out what the actual number of novels they've written or novellas or short stories or whatever. And usually let's put up as like a dunk, like, oh, look at this guy. He's written, 16 novels and 4 novellas and 20 short stories over the last 62 years. And I was like, wow. I mean, good for him. That's great. But like, What do you do the rest of the time? And I write this much, and I screw around on Twitter a lot. You know that.
I'm not going to mention who this author is, but because they just got some news that they are passing away. So I'm not dunking on them. I'm not trying to say they're a bad person, because they're literally dying and they're going to be passing away really soon. So this is not a time to be laughing at somebody. It's really a sad situation. But he's been writing a 7-book series for the past like 30 years, and he's going to leave 2 of the books unwritten. And I was like, wow, that's... And they're door-stopper books. They're not epic fantasy, but they're door-stoppers. They're Brandon Sanderson-sized books. And what that made me think of is, man, Brandon Sanderson has written like 7 series this size. And he's had his entire career.
Yeah, Brandon's one of the guys I actually respect his work ethic. I still have a dairy farmer work ethic. And so there's some authors that I respect more than others. But Brandon, yeah, he works. Like, he works hard. He puts in the time. He puts in the effort. Like, he works hard. I don't know who the other guy is. That sucks. So people are like, well, you haven't finished this series or this series. What happens if you die? And I'm like, well, that'll really suck for me. I'm sure I'll be sadder about it than you are.
Yeah.
I mean, what do people want me to tell them at that? You know, it's like, well, you can't die if this is not finished. Well, I'm not planning on dying. I'm in fairly decent health. But trust me, man, if I get hit by a truck tomorrow, I'm going to be way sadder about it than you guys are. I promise.
And you also have a spouse and children. And
I do. And I love my wife. My wife is amazing. I actually like spending time with my wife. And I got 4 kids, and my kids are awesome. And I've been a good dad, and they've 3 of them are adults now, and they've turned out really good, you know. And I got a great relationship with my kids and do a lot of fun stuff with my children. I mean, I actually like hanging out with my children.
It's possible, and I'm just suggesting this, it's possible they wouldn't be entirely excited about you passing away either.
Oh, they'd be pretty sad, I assume. You know, that would be I mean, they would divide up my guns and all my cool stuff. They've already, like, you know, staked their claims to the various things. No, I like my kids. My kids are awesome. You know, my youngest is in high school, and so I've been a dad for a long time. So you got to balance it. You know, there's the work-life balance, but honestly, 2 books a year is perfectly normal for a guy to have like a good, solid family life and a lot of free time. It's not like I'm working around the clock. I have a, you know, healthy work-life balance. I had some dude on Twitter today when I was making fun of some dummy, as I tend to do. I like to make fun of dummies on the internet. Some of you guys might have noticed. And I was fighting with some dude today, and this other guy goes, well, if you didn't screw around on the internet, you could write 4 more books a year. And I'm like, bull crap. Honestly, it's like screwing around on the internet is how I sharpen the saw. Like, throughout the day, I'll take breaks. And it's actually kind of fun for me. It's like the little mental gymnastics to fight with people is a good, like, recharge, like a refresher to go back to work. And I just do that throughout the day. I wouldn't write, if I wasn't on the internet, I wouldn't write 4 more books a year. I'd write the same number of books a year, and I would do something else to recharge my brain. That's just how it works. Well, I don't know. People are funny. People are funny how they think writing works. You know, like, if you put in X number of hours, you get Y number of books. That's not how it works.
Well, yeah. I mean, what do they think you wouldn't be doing? What do they think you could cut out of your life and go write more? It's like, well, if you didn't take showers, well, if you didn't, you know, sleep at night, well, if you didn't eat meals, well, it's like, no, you have things you have to do to live.
I'd burn out so fast. So that's what people don't understand is writers work a lot more hours than just when we're typing, because we're always thinking. I mean, our job is thinking more than it is writing, because we're thinking about writing and we're thinking about what we're going to write. And so whenever I drive anywhere, somebody was asking me the other day, well, what do you listen to while you drive? And I was like, nothing. You know, I don't listen to the radio or music or anything when I drive, because I'm thinking. That's valuable thinking time. And so it's just nonstop. And my wife got used to that many years ago. It was like, I'll be laying in bed And she calls it like the thinking noises. So I'll just be like, So I'm like thinking through, imaginary conversations and scenes and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun. And my wife and I are actually taking a road trip for American Paladin 2 here a little bit to do research. Because American Paladin, like if you read it, you know that the geography was very real. I stuck with like a lot of real terrain and real roads and real towns and places I've actually been. It was mostly in the Four Corners area and into Colorado, southern Utah. And so this next one, I got to go up to Montana, western Montana, and northern Idaho, and drive around. And just because it's been a long time, and I got to refamiliarize myself. But that's still working time. So even though technically I'm on vacation, I'm still working. So even my vacations are to go do research about where I'm going to put more book stuff.
That is one of the things I've noticed about Alan Dean Foster's life. Whenever you read one of his books, is like he always goes to some exotic, amazing place. And then his next book is from there, so he gets to write it off on his taxes. It's awesome.
I do this so wrong because I'm like, I want to go to Idaho. It's like, or the last one, I was like, I'm hanging out in Shiprock, So yeah, I don't know. I probably what I need to do is I need to set a book on a cruise ship.
Because he wrote a book set in India. He wrote a cyberpunk book in India. He wrote a horror novel set in Africa among the Maasai tribesmen. He just does this amazing travel stuff. He sets his books in.
Hey man, I respect it. I get it. If you've been to a place, you actually can write it better. That's just how it is. Because you get a feel for the vibe. You get a feel for the people and just little things. Like when I wrote Dead Six or that series, the last book, there's a big part of it takes place, or the final book in that series takes place in Paris, and I had just been in Paris, and I was able to get a lot of stuff from that trip. Like I didn't know it was such a motorcycle town at the time. It was a super motorcycle town, and that actually was a handy little plot thing I could use. So yeah, it's kind of fun. I like traveling around. I think I really need to set. If my wife is listening, she often listens while I'm on the podcast. She'll be like, "Well, we need to set a book in Hawaii."
Oh, see, where was it? The Luska?
Oh yeah, that's set in Florida. That's around the Caribbean and Florida is where the Luska is, and there's actually the whole blue holes in. So that's where that comes from. So I could totally take a trip to the Caribbean and justify that for future Monster Hunter work.
So it is. How is it? And obviously, and you have talked about this, and I read something that you wrote about it that was kind of short, but I wanted to get some more thoughts from you on it. Obvious that the fact that the Monster Hunter International series and American Paladin take place in two completely different universes. The tone of the series is different. And Monster Hunter series has more of fantasy, it's got orcs in it and elves and the gnomes and things like that, dragons. And American Paladin is a lot darker. It's a lot more pure horror than the Monster Hunter series. So how did it, or what is the genesis of wanting to do something that was darker, and even though it in some ways still parallels some of the elements of the Monster Hunter series with can I spoil some of the couple of parallel elements?
Just don't go nuts on the spoilers. I'm assuming most of the people in the audience have probably read it.
There are extra dimensional things involved. Is that okay? Is that a mild
Yeah,
enough?
that's fine. That I give that away. I give that away in the prologue.
Okay. Yeah, that's my theory on spoilers. Anything given away in the first scene is not a spoiler. That's just the setup of the book.
Yeah, that's just kind of a given. That would be on the movie poster, you know?
Yeah. So and I'm not saying I'm just curious that how that happened, how you decided to make something that is very definitely its own thing, but it does still share a couple of elements.
Yeah. And so what it came down to was when Arc Press started, and I know you've interviewed them on the show. When Arc Press started, they very much wanted me to do something for them. And I like these guys, and so I agreed to it. And they really wanted an urban fantasy. And I'm best known for the Monster Hunter series. And so if you're an author who's multi-genre like I am, I jump around from genre to genre. I'm able to do whatever I want, but I hadn't really done too much stuff where it's the same genre, like two different series in one genre. And technically, these are both what's considered contemporary fantasy or urban fantasy, which is funny because they're both really, really rural, but they get called urban fantasy. So I looked at Monster Hunter. I said, okay, Monster Hunter has the following kind of themes and kind of the following, the type of vibe it has. It's it's from one guy's perspective mostly, but it's kind of a team effort. And Monster Hunter has a lot of resources. They've got money, they've got a lot of equipment. And so I decided I wanted to do something different in that I was going to do one guy, but pretty much on his own. He's got some friends, but they don't really do much for him. It's mostly a one-man show. And in that, it kind of goes towards that genre of like your terminalist, your Jack Reacher, your repairman Jack. It's one guy taking care of problems. And his resources, he's not rich. What money he has, he robbed from drug dealers. He's got a little nest egg from when he was young, from his family selling the family farm. But really, that's mostly gone. He doesn't really have much, and so he's kind of on the budget. And then on the monsters, on the supernatural element, Monster Hunter tends to be very B-monster movie and traditional mythology. Those are the two areas where most of the monsters in the Monster Hunter universe come from. And the stuff that comes from mythology, I usually take it and twist it to be funny. Gnomes, elves, so on, orcs, minotaurs. But then I have stuff like most of the monsters, vampires, zombies, werewolf. I play them in the kind of B-movie horror element. So what I wanted to do with American Paladin was I wanted to go a little different direction on the supernatural. So I went with kind of the American mythos and the kind of like creepy Western supernatural stuff, very cryptid oriented, a lot of Native American legend stuff. And if you live in Utah, we got all sorts of really cool mysterious stuff in here. I drew heavily on the whole missing 411 thing. One of the books that was a big influence, I put some hat tips to the book in American Paladin was Haunted Mesa by Louis L'Amour. And in that, he got very much into the Indian legends and like basically a multi-dimensional kind of thing. And so for people who've read both, you'll notice there's some definite hat tips I gave there to Louis L'Amour. Not that he would approve of my profanity. He would probably be very offended by my profanity, but everything else, I absolutely love Louis L'Amour stuff. And so I went different directions like that. Tonally, I wanted to do like a vigilante book. And because of that, that's going to be darker and it's going to play a lot of stuff more serious. Monster Hunter tends to be a little more pulpy. They're both fun, but like in a different way. So American Paladin is more of a serious kind of book. So Owen Pitt's more of like an action hero, tough guy, a lot of one-liners. Mike Spears is more kind of a taciturn, modern cowboy. So yeah, if you're doing two different, series in the same genre, you really got to mix them up because you don't want to just do the same thing. I don't want to do that. And from what people have said, everybody who's read this, I think have really liked American Paladin and recognized that it is way different than Monster Hunter. So it's been a fun experiment.
Yeah, you could never mistake them as I mean, just the tone of the book. You can never mistake them for being in the same series.
Oh yeah. You know, it's funny because people ask, are they in the same universe? It's like, no, not at all. And I think that's a good thing, because as a writer, I don't want to be just a one trick pony. It's pretty early in my career. Actually, we mentioned Brandon Sanderson earlier, but pretty early in my career, I got some advice from Brandon. Well, it wasn't even really advice. He was still pretty new. I was brand new. He'd been doing this for like 3-4 years. Probably 4 years. He had just gotten the deal to finish Wheel of Time. That's the first time I met him. And we were eating dinner together, and he was telling me about his career. And he'd written Elantris, and people really loved it, and they wanted more Elantris. And but he decided to write Mistborn instead. And his reasoning was, I didn't want to be just the Elantris guy. So even though there was demand for more Elantris, he wanted to expand and not be a one-trick pony and prove that he could do more stuff. And so I've kind of followed that example in my career. So I started doing Monster Hunter, but then I did Grim Noir, then I did Dead Six, and from there I expanded out with Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. I'm kind of all over the board, multi-genre kind of guy. And so being able to go back to the same genre and double dip, but to have like an entirely different book, tone, vibe, feeling, characters, plot, and have them be like, if my name wasn't on the cover of both of these, I mean, you think, well, both of these guys really like guns and action. But you might not necessarily say that this is the same author. And so to me, that's, as an artist, it's a lot of fun to be able to do that. I mean, so yeah, they're all still Larry Correia novels, and there's always gonna be those little Larry Correia tales. I can't help that. But as an artist, it's actually really fun to be able to bounce around from genre to genre and show that you're not a one-trick pony. It's kind of rewarding to be able to accomplish that and pull it off.
I'm gonna jump for a second. Again, I'm gonna take the selfish time. By the way, folks, if you have any questions for Larry, feel free to drop them in the discussion. I can see the discussion, so if you have any questions, drop them in. I'll see if we can work them in. That's cool with me. When is the next novel, or when do you anticipate the next novel with you and Steve Diamond coming out?
Oh, that I don't know yet. Okay, so on that, the delay was, we did Servants of War, which is a really good book. Like, it's a good book. Very dark fantasy. And Steve's job has just been killing him. But he recently, after about 2 years of just getting his butt kicked, working about 60, 70 hours every single week. So he just couldn't, he had a big brain job. He just couldn't write after getting home from work. He was just too fried. He was worked for a big defense contractor, throwing together billion-dollar contract bids, that kind of thing. So he is back to work at a normal job. He's working like normal human hours, like 50 hours a week, like a proper accountant. And he's writing again. And so he's back in the saddle, and he's working on his part of Servants of War 2, which is called Instruments of Violence. And then that'll be coming back to me. So date on that yet, I couldn't tell you. I don't know when that's going to, because that'll be done. So Steve does the rough on this series. Steve does the rough. So we do the outline together. Steve does the first pass rough draft. Basically, we have 4 main characters. I'm in charge of 2. He's in charge of 2. And then when we get the books back, I have to go over everything. And then I kick it back to Steve. So when that'll actually be done is kind of dependent on when he finishes and when I have time to squeeze it between books. I owe books to like everybody and their dog. Well, because I got American Paladin, so I'm finishing Academy of the Outcasts 3 right now. I'm working on the epilogue literally today. And then I've got Monster Hunter Memoirs coming out at the end of the year, but that's done with Les Johnson. And then I got American Paladin 2. And then I got Monster Hunter number 9 and number 10, which wraps up the Owen series. So the Servants of War 2 has to get squeezed in somewhere between that. When that'll be will depend entirely on when Steve gets done with the rough draft. But man, that series is good. That's a good book. Not real well known, but man, that Servants of War. If you guys haven't read it, guys, it's good. Probably the darkest thing I've written. That's because I wrote it with Steve, who's a horror author.
And I'll add that in. I read Servants of War, which is why it was, my question, because I had read it and then I really enjoyed the book. I had you and Steve on when it just came out. So it is a Russian-esque, World War I-esque dark fantasy where some of the soldiers fight in powered armor that are made from the fragments of golems that, and I'm running past my memory right now.
Oh yeah,
that have fragments of souls in them.
It's soul-powered golems that were destroyed in battle, and then they take the pieces of the golems and they use them to make basically steam-powered, or not steam-powered, but like very steampunk-esque power suits. And this kid, the main character, fights in a unit called the Wall that's made up of these suits. And it's World War I trench warfare in like a dark fairy tale world. It's dark. It's bleak. It's awesome. Very, very, very Slavic. If you're familiar with Slavic fantasy or mythology, it's that in spades. I mean, and so the sequel, we actually open up with like Kolakovian D-Day, basically. It's an amphibious landing, and it's bonkers. It's just bonkers. You guys are gonna love it. If you like the first one, and Steve refers to it as our rats eating people quotient, is how dark scenes get. It's like a 10 on the rats eating people, because somebody had a review and they said, well, for being about trench warfare, they didn't have enough rats eating people. I was like, okay, all right, the customer has spoken. We need more rat-based violence.
We have a question here. I know both of these have to be here. Let me click on this so that everybody watching can see this. I know both of them have to be worked on, but do you as an author, Larry, tend to find a character whose story you want to tell first, or do you come up with a story and decide who lives the story?
That's a good question. Depends on the book. I've gone both ways. I've had books where I had the idea for the plot and the world first, and then I had to populate it, and that's where the characters came from. Like who would be interesting to live and exist and have an adventure in this world. And I've had others where I've had the character in my head, and then I found a world to put them in. So usually main characters, like I'll have the plot / world idea first, and then the main character grows off of that, because that's like the kind of the person who's telling the main story. But then a lot of the supporting characters will be people that I already had in my head. Like, oh, it'd be cool to have somebody who does this. It'd be cool to have a character like that. So it just depends. And there's definitely not a right way or a wrong way. I've had good success with both. So like American Paladin was kind of the character and the world came about at the same time, because the whole idea was it was a vigilante story, and it's kind of an outgrowth. It's like, I want to tell this kind of story about this kind of character. What kind of world makes that interesting? So those two kind of grew up together. So the whole thing with Mike turning out to be like this kind of, cowboy kid done wrong, just really worked in the universe with the whole, missing people thing and supernatural cryptids and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't have a yes or no answer for that, or one or the other. I think it's just going to depend. It'll depend on the book.
Okay. I am just the answer to Hermetic Cigarette asks if he wonders if your book with Steve Diamond, if it Servants of War inspired Trench Crusade, and I'm going to say absolutely the timing doesn't work. I'm pretty sure the Kickstarter for Trench Crusade had already gone off by then, and Trench Crusade has a completely different, the mystical background that's part of Trench Crusade is a lot more, it's not even grimmer, it's just more disgusting. But by which I mean it's a lot more gory. It's a lot gorier. I mean they have cloned Jesus Christ from the Shroud of Turin, and then use the clones, the meat from the clones, to feed to soldiers to make super soldiers out of. So it's
That's terrible.
the whole setting is a lot gorier than, and it's a lot more. It bears all the stamps of people who were raised in a Catholic country and have turned anti-Catholic after that.
That makes sense.
It's grimdark. It's over the top gross. It's not even fun grimdark. Like Warhammer 40K is fun grimdark because it's just it's almost satirically grimdark. And Trench Crusade is just
that's what makes I mean, I don't even play 40K, but I mean, I'm a nerd, so I have to know. I know all the 40K lore, you know. So 40K like embraces its absurdity and like takes it to the next level, which is what makes it fun. I've never paid any attention to Trench Crusade. I haven't painted minis in a while. Yeah, I only have so much hobby time. I have limited hobby time, and I've been doing jujitsu for the last 2 years instead of painting. No, so I didn't pay any attention to Trench Crusade. I don't know which one actually came first. If you said the Kickstarter came first, so Servants of War for us, where it actually came from, is I had written some novels for War Machine. I used to play the War Machine game, if you guys remember that, and I wrote a couple novels for them, and I really loved it. And at the time, they had a new novel imprint, and they were in stores, and me and Steve pitched to them a Khador book, and Khador is like the pseudo-Russians of that setting. And so we made an outline together, and we pitched it to them, and we sent it to them, and they liked it, and they wanted to do it. But then that whole deal fell apart. Like the whole publishing thing over there just kind of fell apart. And so we're a couple years later, and me and Steve had like this really, it was about 2 years, I think. We had this really awesome outline we came up with. And Tony Weisskopf at Bayan asked me if I had any collaborations I wanted to do with young up and coming writers. And I was like, oh, well, now that you mention it, actually. And so we took that outline that we wrote set in their universe, which was kind of, and like I said, that country, that fantasy country is kind of their proto-Slavic, weird sort of Russians in a steampunk world. And so we scrubbed all the serial numbers off it. We took out everything that was like their universe, and we came up with our own cosmology and magic system and all that. And so that's where it came from. Because by golly, as a writer, if I'm going to put in work on a writing project, I want to get paid for it. So if I've got perfectly good stuff out there, I'm going to use it. So that's where Servants of War originally came from. Was the original thing.
Yeah, they're way too different. I mean, one is grim and the other is gross.
Yeah, and so we went very like dark fairy tale. That's kind of how I would describe this one as far as like the level of grimness. So if you're familiar with like the original dark European fairy tales, so the whole idea we came up with was like for this story was, you know how like people would disappear into the mists, you know, in the old world, like there'd be like your lost ships and your lost villages or whatever, and they just like they disappeared into the mist. They walked into the forest and never came back out. So what we did was that there was the world where there was our world, and there's the world where fairy tales come from, and humans started going into the fairy tale world, and fairy tale creatures would go into our world. That's where all the mist from in Europe came from. Only what happened is mankind started going into that other world. Well, we settled and we started conquering and we started, growing. And so it actually is funny because that also is how on our map we had different countries that correspond to real life Earth cultures, because we basically have Russia versus Germany again. And that's because that's where the settlers came from. And what happened is they pushed the fairy tale creatures back, and that's why the fairy tale creatures don't come to Earth anymore. It's because they were all here. And then we came up with the story about how one guy was going to conquer hell in order to take all the souls there to power magic. So, yeah, there's no wasted writing. So anytime you guys have a good idea, save that stuff. Yeah, you never know when a few years later you're going to be able to do it. I'm a big fan of the whole stuff, multi-dimensional stuff, because I do multi-dimensional stuff in Monster Hunter. I did it in Servants of War, and I do it in American Paladin. I love the whole mythos of creatures coming from somewhere else and coming here, and people getting lost on the other side. That's why I said this book is a hat tip to Haunted Mesa, because that's the plot of Haunted Mesa. Is where the Hopi Indians came from, is they escaped another dimension. And it's cool stuff, man. I love my job.
See, I think a lot of people who end up writing fantasy and science fiction are the people who would stand around imagining things anyway, only they're lucky enough to get paid for it now.
Yeah. I was always an imaginative kid. Like growing up, man, I was always just coming up with stories and plots. And then when I was young, I discovered Dungeons and Dragons. And so I could do cooperative storytelling with, other kids. And I love that stuff. And I love reading fantasy novels. And so my whole life growing up, I was always coming up with something. And then it was later in life, I was I'd always read a lot. I was a super avid reader. I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And so college, I tried to write my first book, and it sucked. It was terrible. It was my training wheels book, right? And so I got halfway through and threw it in a drawer, right, back in 2001. And then 2006, I tried again, and that's where I started writing Monster Hunter. And man, I've been doing this ever since, and absolutely loving it. So I just come up with cool ideas, try to tell them in an entertaining way, and then I just sit in a chair and type all day. It's pretty sweet.
Do you still want to go on?
Oh yeah, I could do probably another 10 minutes or so. Okay.
With American Paladin, are you is that a series that you're going to continue to keep focused in the American West? I mean, obviously the second novel is, from what you told us about your travel plans, but
yeah. So the plan on this one, so with Monster Hunter, it wound up being very southern U.S. and then global. They just bounce all over the world for wild adventures because they have a travel budget. This one I wanted to stay west, just kind of for the mythos of it, and kind of the vibe. So as of right now, the plans are to keep it in the American West. Now, how far will that expand over time? I don't know. Plus primarily a country boy. So he's not a city guy. He's not super comfortable working in cities. There's too many cameras, too many witnesses, too many complications, cops everywhere. He's very much more of a rural kind of guy. Though the big part of the book does take place in Denver and Aurora, which not his comfort zone. And so right now the plan is American West, but will that stay in the future? I don't know. It just depends on what kind of cool stories I can borrow from. So like I said, the next one, we're going up north. There's some cool stuff up there I want to touch on. Don't want to get into it too much, but there's some fun stuff up there. And it's an excuse for me to drive around some really pretty areas. So,
yeah, one of the things about modern cities, at least, there are iPhones everywhere. You can't, nothing happens in a big city. You can't have a car wreck in a big city without all the phones coming out. So it makes it hard to
Oh yeah, like so even in my little rural, super rural, I'm way out in the sticks of Utah, and I got they just put a flock camera in my county, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people just kind of eyeballing that thing, wondering like how I could bump a tractor into it without getting getting caught. So yeah, no. But one of the things too is I wanted to be able to touch on like the philosophy of Westerners, because it's a distinct culture. The modern West is a very distinct culture, and I mean I live here. This is my people, and so I kind of want to like stick with that too for a while, and just kind of explore that, and that's been kind of fun. Playing with that. So I don't know where it's going to go next. We'll see. So yeah, he can't go to Canada. He's not got a passport. And it's got to be as an illegal alien, and traveling with as many guns as he does, that could be an issue, because they think he was like kind of overthrow the Canadian government and smuggling guns to Alberta.
Oh, I should say that for people listening later who don't have the video. One of our listeners, Hermetic Signal, said Northern Canada has those stories about giants. Was the comment?
Yeah, I should have gave you a chance to read that first. I just read it off the screen. Yeah, no. So no plans to go to Canada though that would be fun. It's the same thing with going to Alaska. It's just far enough to travel out of the comfort zone that it starts getting awkward. As far as like, for one thing I did on this book is I tried to keep the crime stuff very plausible. I'm trying not to go full Reacher superhero stuff. Say this, he's a normal dude. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's not a former Navy SEAL. He's not got, any special abilities. He's just a dude who has worked really hard. He's a smart guy who's worked really hard and trained really hard. That's basically it. So everything he does, there's not really anything too far-fetched. It's funny. I did see one reviewer, and it's kind of funny because he's like, wow, yeah, he's like, I thought it's kind of unrealistic because there's this one scene where he just kills so many of these bad guys really fast. And the way I wrote the scene, though, was an ambush where he's got a 7.62 rifle. He's got an AR-10, and he's got a superior position. And then a bunch of dudes roll up in a truck. And so it was brutal. It was like super brutal, right? But I kept it very realistic. It's like, yeah, these are a bunch of tough bad guys, but you're dumping mags through the window of a truck that's stuck. This is not going to be a long gunfight. So I tried to keep stuff very, very plausible and grounded as far as the violence. And then later on, I'm throwing in like, horrific cryptid monsters. When you go cryptid monster, obviously the violence gets a little more unrealistic. But yeah, and I try to keep the fight scenes actually pretty realistic too. I do my research. I try to keep my fight scenes within actual human capability, as opposed to, it's not, I've written superhero books, but this is definitely not a superhero book. When this dude takes a beating, he pays for it.
See, and he's fighting the same guys, and earlier and later when he's fighting just one of them and he doesn't get in an ambush, he gets thrashed.
Yeah, because he's fighting warriors. I mean, these are straight up warriors. So like he wins through surprise and violence. But later on, there's a scene where it's basically a fair fight between him and one of the guys, and it's brutal. Like, it's brutal because he's fighting a dude who's a warrior. And even then, he doesn't, when they end the fight, he doesn't end it. It wasn't fair. As soon as he gets an advantage that he can use, he takes it. As soon as he's given a tool to finish the fight, Mike's going to do it. So how I wrote this character is he's pragmatic. He's a vigilante. He's the American Paladin. He's the guy that goes out and rights the wrongs that other people can't right, who takes care of the problems that other the system isn't taking care of. So he's the guy that fixes it. But because he's just one dude with limited resources and no special abilities, he has to handle it and just with violence, as fast and efficiently as possible. I did have the scene earlier in Colorado where he just like had to overwhelm a couple dudes like really fast with improvised weaponry. That was so violent. That scene was so bad. Also, I wrote that scene as a response to all the dumbasses on the internet who keep talking about spraying people with swath spray. I was like, no, don't be stupid. I was like, so I decided I was going to have a spray scene, only a little more grounded in reality, and also the negative aspects. Also, it's not for self-defense; it's for murder. If you were to do this in real life, there's no court of law that's going to say it was self-defense. Okay, yeah. If you know the part I'm talking about, it's nasty. Yeah. Wear eye protection, kids.
You know what's funny is, this is a little bit off, but Community, the TV show Community, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, I watched Community.
When she's trying to run after someone and pepper spray someone, and then it comes right back in her face because it's spray, it's a vapor, it's hanging around in the air, and she gets herself. It's not a bullet.
I pepper sprayed myself when I've been pepper sprayed before that just for training purposes. Plus, there's one reason I'm a good writer is I do all this dumb crap in real life. You know, I know what it's like to get whacked in the face, right? And so, I mean, as I say, as a big giant scratch on my head. But I was moving, as when we moved into this house that I live in right now, and in my boxes of stuff in the garage, I had this can of pepper spray that was actually from a prison. It was one of the big mega foggers, you know, one of those big they would use to like break up riots. How I had this in my possession is a long story. When you own a gun store, you trade a lot of fun stuff with people, and so I didn't realize that it was it was open, right? And so I'm carrying a cardboard box, and somehow this can that I forgot about, it's been there for years, had gotten smushed, and I hear a sound, like I hear like a spraying sound, and I'm like, huh, there's something in this box spraying. And so I'm walking out to the moving van with this box that's been spraying for several seconds with the fogger that's designed to disperse prisoners. And so I pop open the lid and just got a face, just this cloud came out and completely coated my upper body. Oh my gosh, it hit me so hard. And so my wife came home like half an hour later, and I'm sitting on the porch with the hose, and I'm just rubbing. And I had you want to use Dawn dish soap, okay? People say use milk. No, just use Dawn dish soap. And I was out there with Dawn dish soap and a hose, just being absolutely miserable, having a hell of a day. So that was fun, yeah. No, I like to actually do stuff and test stuff. Like if there's a shooting thing in one of my books, I've done it, or I've probably done it or done something similar enough I can extrapolate it. There's a scene in American Paladin where he uses a piece of heavy equipment as a weapon. Specifically, he uses a little track hoe. He uses a little track hoe as a weapon in a scene. So I actually rented a track hoe. And used it for a couple days. I needed to dig some holes anyway around the place, and I needed to repair some pipe. And but no, so I rented the little track hoe. So the track hoe in the book is the same track hoe that I was driving. That way I could, make sure I could describe how it feels and how it sounds and how the controls work and all that stuff. So I'm a stickler for this kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think I'm going to beat prison pepper spraying yourself. I don't think we're going to find a better story than that tonight.
Dude, it sucked. It was miserable. I cried. I cried like a little girl. I'll admit, I'm not that tough. Took me out. People are like, oh, pepper spray's not that effective. That dude's never tried it. It's hell of effective for most human beings. It sucks.
So I think we're going to make that the end of the show, because I think that's a high water mark to go out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, because I was telling you earlier, I got to get back to work. I'm this close to being done with this book. So very excited.
I do, and I'm sure all of the audience does, appreciate you coming on and talking about American Paladin. By the way, the last AP in the trilogy there was as is that okay? Is that a spoiler if I say that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. It was American Paladin, Arc Prest, and Aztec Priests. Those were the three things I had put together from the book to go make that title. I didn't know if that was.
Oh, no, that's fine, because I even told people early on it's Cowboys versus Aztecs.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I was thinking it's going to be Alien Predator or Alien versus Predator. But I didn't count the letters to see if Alien versus Predator would fit. So
anyways, thanks for coming on, Larry. We as always, enjoy you coming on the show. And sometime in the future, when you've got another book coming out, I'd love to have maybe you and Steve in a while, whenever it comes out. And 70 hours a week. No sane person can expect you to write a book after 70 hours a week of government contractor work, because
he's a tough guy, but even Steve has his limits.
I'm pretty sure the government deliberately invents paperwork to beat you down and squash your brain out your ears. That's the only reason it exists.
It's just to break your spirit.
Do you have any other last words before we go?
No. Hey, I just appreciate you having me on, and I will see you on Twitter as we are provoking outrage from dumb people.
All right, folks. I want to thank everyone who came on and listened live. I want to thank everyone who will listen later. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, July 13th, 2026. I am your host, Daddy Warpig, signing out for today. But don't you worry. Don't you fret. We will be back.